Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you for the invitation for the Teams Fest. First of all, I would like to thank you all the team at the Teams Fest who have organized this event. I think it's a really great event to share a lots of information, feedbacks, and lots of things. So I would like to thank you everyone, and especially Chris also for this. So my name is Lionel Blanc. I'm a customer success manager consultant, and I work for a company called Progelis, which is a Microsoft partner in France. And today I wanted to talk about adoption and change management, which could be the first steps of success for teamwork. So I followed some other presentation before, and I saw that lots of people are talking about adoption and change management, which is great. So I hope I won't tell lots of things that you already know, but maybe in another way, another presentation. So I hope you will enjoy this presentation, and if you have any questions, so you can ask this at the end. And I hope everyone hear me pretty well on my headphone. And if you have also any question, let me know. So first of all, I would like to say, why is change management important? So when we have a situation, we have a customer, they have a current situation, they have a project, they know where they are, and in their mind, the way that the project will go on, they will have a transition phase, a phase where everything will change, but they know about this, and then they will have a future stage, a stage where would be the future. So for them, it's pretty clear. We have a situation now, there will be a transition phase, and the future will be this. So customers knows exactly what they want. They know they have an IT project, for instance, and they know that they will have very good benefits on this situation. In fact, the reality is really different. We still have this current situation, something that we start from, but in reality, the transition is much more like this. So I think that there are lots of people who know about this transition phase, which is not so easy. Even if the project is really well driven, you have lots of project manager, you know that the transition phase sometimes and lots of time is like this. And in fact, the future is much more something like this, so much more uncertain for end user, much more uncertain also for all the one who has done this project. So this is why here change management is important, because of the transition phase and the future, which is not very certain. It's really important to have the change management well organized. Some other things interesting also is that if we are not considering the change management, we might have some negative consequences. As soon as you have a first communication or a first rumor in the company, employees feel not well. The employee sometimes lose some productivity. There are lots of dissatisfaction, and they are begin to be very passive or not really, sometimes resistance. And much more than that, sometimes if that we are not driving well the communication, and if there is no change management, there is also a lots of risk for the company, is that the employee, the valued employee, might have they might have lots of turnover. It might also have some customer impact as well. And this is really important also to know this. So this chart is from ProSci. So ProSci is a methodology that helps change manager and the customer change manager to follow and to know about this. So this is a very good chart because as soon as you have a first communication, there is a start of that the project might not be as you wanted. So I guess you already had a lots of example on this. Some customer will say, I have a new project which will be having everyone on Teams at the end of the year. Everyone say okay, and then day by days, people are chatting and they're starting to say, I'm not very confident about this product, and why do they want these products right now? So a lot of people are talking about the change without knowing why there is the change. So this is important to have this in mind. Uh, but in fact, the great question is, what is change management? So this is something very important to ask to your customer, to ask directly. We say, okay, I have a project. I know that there will be change management. So, okay, please give me some training. Okay, so yes, this is things. Another thing is, okay, change management is communication. Yes, we need to communicate to the end users. Yes, we know this. We know that we need to have communication. But in fact, it's not only training and communication. And this is what's wrong today about customer thinking about change management. They are only thinking about training their employee and having the right communication, which is good, in fact, because this is two main pillar of change management. But this is not the only things we need to consider in change management. Change management, it's really applying a structured process and a set of tools to lead the human side of change to achieve the desired outcome. This is very important to have this notion about change management. Change management is a structured process. A structured process is something that have some step. You need to start from a process to know a bit more the end user, the companies, and we need to start the project. Even sometimes, lots of customers really jump into training in the first day, which is good, but we need to help them to have this structured process. And the human side of the project is something important, is that it's we are not here to apply a change management for all the company, but we are here to have the change management for individual, because each individuals and each employees are different. So we need to know exactly what will be the best for each individuals in the company. And in fact, you cannot manage change at an organizational level until you know how to manage change with a single individual. So this is the core of the thing, is that you need to know really how to apply a change management when we know a little bit more about the employee. So what we call the virtuous cycle of adoption in workshops. So this is the best things we advise to follow step by step in order to run a good adoption and good change management plan. So the first thing, what we recommend is to define a vision, define also a sponsorship, some sponsor, I will talk about this a bit later. Talk about governance, not IT governance, but to know exactly user governance, to know which people will be implied in this change management. This is one of the first steps. The second step would be to build some business scenario and use cases also, and to track some performance indicators that will help also the companies to monitor the adoptions. The third step would be to build the champion networks and build also the training and the communication plan. You remember, this is the two things that the people ask at the beginning. So we are already at the third step if we are following this methodology. And at last, the last things would be to ask resources, partners to drive the change. Okay, so in fact, what a customer is always asking is mainly the step number 4. They say, okay, let's do it. Let's make some training, communication, and go. And in fact, the most important is the 3 first step. As soon as you have done the 3 first steps really well, the drive or the change will be really much more easier. And this is what it's very hard to make the customer understand that these steps are really important. Why it's a virtuous cycle? Because in an Office 365 project, for instance, there is always some new project. You can start with the project with OneDrive, then a project with Teams or a project with Exchange. So, but it will always be the same circle of adoption. So these steps are really important. And what I wanted to show you and to share also is some feedback from an assessment called the Teamwork Assessment from Microsoft. So this is, you know that there are lots of assessment from Microsoft that helps customers and partners to move forward. I would like to share a bit more about this. So maybe you already know about Teamwork Assessment, but I wanted to give you a bit feedback on this. And I have extracted some slide and some things about this Teamwork Assessment. Microsoft help also to valorize this adoption, that it's important to show adoptions and to run this change management at the beginnings with the customers, and which is great because it highlights also that this is not only a consultant that insist on this fact. This is also from Microsoft, and they know that it's important to have this kind of workshop. So the first workshop example from the Teamwork Assessment is the first workshop that is run with business decision makers. So business decision makers would be the people who ask you that I would like to have a project. So mainly this is maybe project manager, people who run this project. So you are sitting with them to run this first workshop, and it would be interesting also to add some key representative employees in order to have additional information from them. So from this first workshop, from the Teamwork Assessment, they advise to follow this kind of topics. So within this first workshop, you can have topics to say how to visualize success with your customers. Also, define where they would like to go with their products, with their project. So try to work on use case scenarios. Also, discover what you can do really with the product. They have, for instance, the the customer has an idea of what Teams can be, but they don't have time to make a demo with some key representative employees. So this is important to run this kind of workshop at the early stage in order to have all this information. So it could be the demo time. It's important also at this stage to identify the executive sponsors, because they are really the key of a good adoption and good success then. And some other topics also to characterize some key stakeholders from the project, and also outline some success criteria, which is important at this first workshop. So this first workshop can be for a whole day with business decision makers and also with key representatives. So I will just, that's why they are in red. I will give you just few few feedbacks from what we can do during this workshop. So the three first: visualization, define what you use case, and identify executive sponsors. So why why it's important to define a vision? A vision is a clear, concise, understandable vision, allows employees of all the levels to perceive the value of the new ways of working that will be in the organization. It helps also to secure memberships and support for teams within the organization, and it helps for change management. I have example of this. I sat with some customers just at the beginning with this first workshop and saying, "What's your vision about the project?" They said, "I would like to have teams to make some collaboration." Yes, fine. This is the feature. This is the features of the products. But behind this, what's the strategy of the company? Is it something that you have in strategy for 1 year, 2 year, 5 year? What's your vision? How you would like to onboard your employees within the years? And when you ask open question like this with them, you are starting to have lots of feedback from them, and you collect a lots of information that will be very important, and especially for the future communication. The future communication will be aligned with what the organization have with their vision. What we say is that 30% additional effectiveness in achieving objectives in companies that have a clear vision of the transformation project. So this is very important to know this. So have this time of a vision. Another important thing also is to identify use case scenarios. Using this framework is really interesting. So this is the example that also Microsoft suggests, is to reformulate a use case scenario, saying that someone in a department, in a team, would like to do something and using a specific application of a technology, and know that it will be successful when he will achieve this. So with this methodology, you can have this discussion with the group of key representatives, someone at the marketing, someone at sales, and someone else. Say, okay, we have a product called Teams. What are you waiting for this kind of products? What today is important in your organization, your department? What's it's annoying? What's do you want for this? And then when you talk with them, trying to reformulate. Okay, so you are someone in marketing division, for instance. Okay, so you would like to have a board where you can have a lots of the follow-up of your actions, and that you can share with some others. Okay, today you are using an Excel file. That's fine, and you know that you will be successful when everyone can be connected at the same time and fill this file all together. Fine. So we have a real use case scenario, and this use case will be really important then also for communication and also for training. So we have a training adapted to the use case scenarios. So this is an example. Someone in sales management wants to have a single version of a sales proposal that everyone has access to, rather than managing multiple versions in emails. Everyone knows about this situation. Using a file sharing site to centralize stores, sharing a single version, document and use co-authoring. And it will be successful when the sales team creates proposal more easily. So this is the goal of the success. The other topics is, according to you, was the number one obstacle to the success of a transformation project? For me, it's also this with all the customer. It's ineffective sponsorship. Sponsorship is really, really important. Why? Because it really helps to have the people on board from the beginning till the end, people who have the voice in the company, people who can help and can also help the change management to drive the change methodology, the change actions. So for this, we can help also sponsors to drive change. What can they do? They can help to identify and prioritize business scenarios. So the one that we just talked a bit earlier, they can help us to say, okay, this is a very good use case scenario. We should have this, or this one is not aligned with the company. This is not a use case. This is something that only 1 or 2 or 3 people doing in the company. So They will help us to really drive which use case are really important. They can also take part in advocating the vision to the other company's leaders. So the sponsors, this is the one that we will talk about with the visions as well, but they will also spread the visions inside the company and remind also the key message, which is really important. And one of the last things also which is important, that they will participate and use the products as well. So the Microsoft 365 products, for instance. It's really important because they will show that they are also the power users of the solution, that they are also very implied in the project, and they know that it's important. And this is not only a tool for their employees, it is a tool for everyone. So to help then this, what we are doing in change management methodology, also from ProSci, is to make them understand the ABC project. So this is not the song from the Jackson 5. This is the A, like they should be active and visible participation. So this is something that they need to have in mind. B, they need to build a coalition with their executive peers. So the sponsor should speak also with some other employees and some other peers that, okay, we are talking about this project. Please help me in your divisions to also spread the word and show also the great things. And C would be to communicating directly with the employees. This would really help much more the change situation. As soon as the employees show that the message comes from the sponsors, they will adapt much more easier. So this is the three things that we advise also for sponsorship. This is what it's important. Then another workshop which is interesting to go much more deep is the adoption and change management workshop. So this is also the workshop that it's advised on the teamwork assessment. I will give you a little bit details just after. And this one is much more also with the business decision makers, but also with the project managers and also with the communication and the HR teams. Why? Because during this workshop, we will speak here. You remember the step 2 and 3. So we'll speak about the step 3. We'll speak about the training. We'll speak about how to manage the resistance of management. The resistance, sorry. We will talk about how to reward and give recognition for those people who are much more invest and that accept the change. They accept also the new project. Also, we will talk about how to measure the adoption, the success of this, and what would be the adoption plan. The adoption plan would be the training plan and the communication plan. And also how we will communicate, how we will make all the people aware about this. And the last thing is how we will build the champions network. So all these topics can be done in a workshop as well to explain the importance of the change management and the adoption for the project. So as the previous one, I will just give you quickly some details from training, communication, and champion networks. So training, what is important is to focus on the why, use real work scenarios, and use multiple formats. And also reinforce the training. Focus on the why is really important because people today in companies are really fed up to follow a training and they don't know why they are here, why they need to follow this training, and they need to know why they are participating to this training. Use real worst case scenarios. The one that we just see before, this is the right time to say, okay, we know that in your situation, in your business department, you are using these tools this way. So this is the moment to explain and to reformulate the real work scenarios aligned with the new products with Teams, for instance. And also, it's the moment to have this and show what's the best practice. to explain what's the current situation versus the future state, to remind them today it's like this, in the future it would be like that, and also adjust during the training the tech literacy, because all of the employees are not at the same levels about tech literacy, and so on. So there are lots of things to discuss with training strategy on this stage. Communication and awareness. Two things really important for best practice to generate awareness. One, during the communication, and the most important is to focus on the Whitfam, this is the way that it is called. It's what's in it for me. It's also the same as in the training before. In the communication, you really need to focus on what's in it for me. It means that when you will send your first emails, your first communication about, hey, this is the new products, please get access here, and that's it. No, this is not a right communication. The right communication is, today we know that we need these products because you have this in mind. So we need to have in this communication something that's really tangible for the employees. So and also a communication that is really tailored to the company culture, not something you don't have to have a wow communication or a communication really different from what they know. So that's why it's important to have during this workshop the people around the communication that will help you to share what's today the communication in the company. Another thing is to have some engagement events. So this is a great way to have some demo booths in cafeteria, or to have some kickoff lounge, and also to imply some staff, and implies also the champions and all the people who are driving this, to make the project also visible for all the companies. This is really important so that people knows this. And if we vary we have to deploy a variety of tactics. This is important because some employees only read emails, some others are much more at the cafeteria, some others are participating in other ways. So it's really important to vary tactics for communicating. And at last, I would like to talk briefly about the champion network. Champion network, you really hear lots of about this, that we need to have champions because champion matters, and that's right, because if you build your right champion networks, it will really help to accelerate the adoptions, because learning from co-workers is the most effective used method in learning a new technology. And champion helps to generate enthusiasms. They build influence circles with their teams. They achieve new working method. They identify possible challenge and solution, and provide feedback to the project teams and sponsors. And this is really important. Champions, it's important. How do you recruit champions? The best things is not to have people imposed like champions. I already had some companies who say this guy will be the champions, and this is not the right situation. The much more easier things is to find some early adopters. You can also send questionnaires, make a selection before, and you build your own network champion, which is important. And in champion networks, some would be good, some other would be bad, some will be also moved, but it's a real things moving. And one thing on importance also, if your project is on Teams, it's a great moment also to build your first teams in Teams. It would be the champion networks. They will start using Teams. They will start using channels. They will start understanding this. You can do some webinars with them, and this is the first and the right things to start also with them, with the champions network. So just to conclude on this, you have to remember that there are some key roles for successful adoptions. And this is why it's important also to know exactly who is the executive IT, who is the sponsors, who is the project teams, early adopters, and champions, to have this governance to know exactly who does what. So these slides are from some of them from the teamwork, the Microsoft Teamwork Assessment. So you probably have heard about this teamwork assessment, but this is for customers, for those who are eligible. So there are some rules about this, but this is set of activities that they can access to accelerate their journey. So this is driven by the partners, and if the customers is eligible, they can have access to this workshop. So this is important and this is good. So there are many assessments, and the one that is interesting for the adoptions is the teamwork assessment. And the best things for the partners is to ask the Microsoft partners, the customer should ask the Microsoft partners if they are eligible to this teamwork assessment. So the teamwork assessment program is like this. You have a pre-work, a pre-engagement questionnaire, which is optional, but which is recommended if you don't know the customers. Then you have the first modules, so the one that I show you, the BDM workshop, which is a business decision makers workshop with all the topics I explained. And then, considering adoption and change management, is the module 2. So the module 2 can be either adoption and change management, calling and meetings, and now we have two separate things, callings and meetings, which are much more workshop dedicated for teams who would like to go on the calls and how to organize team rooms, for instance. And there is also another one, which is Microsoft Teams custom solution. So this is workshop designed for those who would like to adapt Teams in a specific way. So for all the customer success managers, the one that is really good is the first one of the second modules, adoption and change management, because it's very great for the for the customers. It's a good start for them also to consider that change management is really important in a project, in an IT project. So also at the end of the teamwork assessment, there are lots of there is a final report and restitution for Microsoft, but also for the customers and for both of them. And this is very important because it's formalized and it makes you have some exercise and really good for for the customers to have this restitution and a final restitution for them. Just feedback from the workshop I already done for the teamwork assessment. Advice for customers. So before starting the assessment, the customer should well understand the assessment, so why it's important and what the assessment will cover. Also, please make sure that you have enough participants and the right ones. So when I say that the second module, which is the one for talking about the communication plan and also the things, we need to to have people from the communication. We need to have the HR as well. So the right people is important. For the customers also, they should not be surprised by the structural approach. It's needed, and this is important because some customers don't consider adoption as a structural approach, but this is a structural approach and we need to have this. And we are not, during the workshop for the teamwork assessment, we are not only talking about Teams, but also all the Microsoft 365 environments and apps. So just not only focus on Teams, but all the other also application. So just to conclude, what I wanted to share with you is that I feel that adoptions is much more important. People and customers always still thinking that for adoption we need training and communication, which is true. But this is not only the part. We need to have a full process, a full step by step, which is really important to collect use case, to collect also to have a lots of good sponsorship, and all these steps are really important. It's really hard to explain or to sell or to to show to customers. But the teamwork assessment also helps with this to engage a bit more the customers. So I hope it will continue, and it will help also everyone to see a bit more about adoption project with the Microsoft project. So I would like to thank you. If you have any question, you can use the conversation tabs as well. I will share with you some useful links with this. And yes, for everyone, as you know, stay at home from now, and yes, it's really important. And I don't know if there is some question, maybe feel free. If there is also some customer success manager hearing what I say, I would be happy to have some feedback as well. If you have any question, I'm still connected for a few minutes. Thank you, Nick, for your feedback. Okay, so for me it was a first exercise as well, because it's in English. It's not my native language, so I hope it has been understandable for you. So I think there is not so much question. So thank you very much. Thank you once again to all the TeamFest people who organized this. I will follow the other as well. Thank you very much, and thank you, Chris, also, and thank you all of you. Thank you very much. Bye bye.